Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are streaming on all social media platforms, including Twitch at Keys to the City. So subscribe, share, like, and comment as well. Another busy week in the sport of football, in the NFL, but we're going to talk about Big Blue in a couple minutes. Last week we talked about the NFL draft. We brought out our NFL draft, mock draft, I should say, 1.0. We talked about the Giants. We'll talk about free agency now. And then we're also going to talk about, we got to think about this, ladies and gentlemen. A year ago, this is when everything really came crashing down. NCAA March Madness canceled. Could it survive this year, though? We're already seeing teams. One of my team, my Duke Blue Devils, their season's over. The Kansas Jayhawks are the latest team. North Carolina A&T, I should say. And then you got also Virginia. Big teams that one of them needed to survive and advance to get into the tournament. Season's over. But we're going to talk about that. Can they start or can they survive this year? They didn't last year. Could they survive this year? But I want to start off with the big news today. And I was watching Colin Cowherd, and we've heard ongoing discussions. Russell Wilson, I brought this up a couple weeks ago of saying, I don't think Russell Wilson's going to be the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. I did say I thought it was going to be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, but as we know, they have their guy now for the next 4, and who knows, even maybe longer, in Dak Prescott. Now the big news today, and I was watching Colin Cowherd, is the Chicago Bears, the team that we all have to agree on. This is the most desperate team in the NFL currently, and they're looking for a quarterback. They cannot go another year, especially Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, the GM, cannot. They cannot survive with Nick Foles or Mitchell Trubisky or anything less because his team is too talented, and they just made the playoffs. They need to find a quarterback. They haven't had a quarterback in forever. Since both of us haven't been alive, I don't even remember the last time.
Do you know they're the only NFL team that's never had a 30-touchdown passer in the regular season? They're the only NFL team. Do you know I got the Colin Cowherd trivia question right? Who's had the most 30-touchdown seasons since 2015? It was Russell Wilson, 5 out of the last 6 years. So that's what we know that he's been knocked for not having talented wide receivers and players around him. Now, in the last 2 years, they've drafted DK Metcalf. They have always had Tyler Lockett. They tried the Greg Olsen experiment. That was had Will Disley for about 5 weeks in fantasy. If you remember him, he had a couple breakout years. But Golden Tate was there and then gone. They've never really had a true number one. DK Metcalf has started to be that. I think the question you're going to ask is, should they go all in? What is all in? I don't think 5 first-round draft picks is worth it. I think that's giving up too much. I think you're talking about a guy. I would do that for maybe Deshaun Watson in the sense that he's only 26 years old. You have Russell Wilson, who's 32, maybe closer to 33 years old. I believe he'll be this in the season. So not that he's not in his prime, because we've seen quarterbacks like Brady and Breeze. Listen, even Rodgers, guys that are 38, 39, 40-plus years old succeed in the NFL. But I'd rather have Deshaun Watson a longer-term deal. I believe his contract with the extension will last longer in the future, where Russell Wilson, I think, could be a free agent after 2022 or 2023. Plus, there's more dead caps for Seattle, so is that worth it? 5 first-round draft picks have a $39 million dead cap. Listen, it's an interesting thing. It's funny because the Deshaun Watson story was really the first thing that kicked off the NFL season, really. That was the big news. And then the Russell Wilson story came out of nowhere, and it seemed to gain a lot of steam lately. I still don't see it happen because of the dead cap space. I think Seattle will find a way to get through this season. We've seen disgruntled quarterbacks before. And here's the other thing. If you really said he didn't want to play there, then come out like Deshaun Watson and say, I'm not going to play there. Just say it.
That's what bugs me about this whole thing, and I did it a couple weeks ago on YouTube. You can check it out also on YouTube. Is it Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson? Look, we heard Carson Wentz was frustrated in Philadelphia. He wanted out. Matthew Stafford, being in Detroit in general, it has to be frustrating. And you know that deep down he possibly wanted to be out. He eventually got moved on to LA. And then you got Deshaun Watson, who has been saying it for months now that he is done with Houston. He doesn't want to be a part of their plans. He doesn't want to be a Houston Texan anymore. This is the one that bothers me when people say he doesn't want to be traded, but he came out with 4 teams that he's interested in. Plain and simple right there, you want to be out. You're done with this situation. And the thing that makes this even more crazier is that we haven't heard anybody from Seattle come out. Not the GM, not Pete Carroll. Hell, not even Russell Wilson has come out and spoke about these reports / rumors or whatever you want to call them. We haven't heard any of that. So when I heard immediately the Cowboys, Cowboys at the time, the Raiders, the Saints, and the Bears, the 4 teams that Russell was interested in, play it right there. It just, yeah, he says he doesn't want to get traded, but you're asking your agent, his agent, which he must hear some sort of.
No, so the agent had called Adam Schefter. That's where the report came from.
How does his agent find out about that?
Well, they probably discussed it, and you know how it goes. You throw some sugar, you throw some flour in the air, and see what it attaches to. Here's another thing that Trev, you probably saw, and most people probably have seen by now, is the Seattle Seahawks left Russell Wilson off their promo video for their upcoming season with their season ticket. Now, I don't know about you, but I better guarantee you Daniel Jones is on the promo video for the New York Giants season ticket holders. And hell, if his ass is on the season ticket holders promo video, Russell Wilson should be the headline. If it's a 90-second clip, he should have at least 45 seconds because he is your team. Other than Bobby Wagner, excuse me, he is your team. He is Seattle. This is why you got rid of all those defensive players. It was supposed to be the Russell Wilson team.
I understand.
If he goes to Chicago, do you really see him succeeding the same level he did at Seattle?
Ted, you also have to take into consideration. This has to be brewing since Super Bowl, the one that they lost to the Patriots. I don't know.
How could this be brewing?
Because
they did it for him. If they wanted to take away.
No, listen, because everything started there. Everything stemmed from there.
Yeah, but Trev,
because we always hold on. When they won,
they could have gave the ball to Marshawn Lynch and scored. They decided to let Seattle get the credit.
When they beat Denver, all the credit was on that dominant defense. So the next year,
like the first play of the game, bro.
Next year, they get the same way. They get there the same way. Dominant defense, and Russell made plays when he needed to. Then they gave him the chance to win the game. And that's where it all started, Russell. You saw Richard Sherman come out over the years. You've seen ex-players come out over the years. Michael Robinson supposedly came out. And, I mean, Russell Wilson, has he eventually became a problem in Seattle? He's become too bigger than life. And this is why I said a couple weeks ago when we talked, me, you, and Joe, that has he become almost a diva because he wants it all. And I feel like Seattle gave him his wife. Now he's complaining because of all of the one he wanted. He wants to be the man. But Seattle gave him that opportunity, but Seattle also has kind of said, we're going to get away from him. You could just see this brewing for some time now, and it's about time that it's finally come out.
See, I was thinking, diva thing, right? And I was going to make the comment, well, look at his wife. And somebody would go, yeah, but what about Tom Brady's wife? We joke about this a lot of times in relationships. Sometimes, and listen, this is no disrespect, but sometimes the old saying, sometimes certain people wear the pants in the relationship. Well, when it comes down to football, I think Tom Brady wears the pants because if you remember a couple years ago, Giselle was talking. I think she did a video interview or something where she kind of was talking about Tom retiring, wanting him to retire, maybe be around the kids a little bit more, do a little bit more. The man is still playing, and he's playing, and he just signed an extension. Now, I'm not saying Russell Wilson is like that because if you read about it, I think you sent me the article on Instagram. Him, Tom Brady, and LeBron James, I think all 3 of them spend at least $1 million each year on their bodies with nutrition, regimen, fitness, trainers. You name it. If there's a TB12, there's something for Russell Wilson too. He does the same amount of work on his body to keep his body recouped. I can't remember the last time he got hurt. I don't even know if he's ever gotten hurt in the NFL. But I just don't know. I think the storyline for the Bears storyline is great, but I just don't see it as a success on the road. I don't see. Can I interrupt for 1 second? I don't think it'll have the same success as Tom Brady in Tampa or Peyton Manning for Denver. I just don't see it. No, I don't see the same success.
Hold on. So I know that Bears fans would love to see this this scene every week of him as a Chicago Bear quarterback. But let me bring it back to you. You say that Russell Wilson wouldn't have the same impact. Well, let's see. Russell Wilson is, without question, a top 5 quarterback in this league right now. The Bears, without question, have a top 4, top 5 defense. Now, if they did, what do we mean by go all in? Now, do they trade an entire draft? Do they trade some pieces with that? Do they trade a Kyle Fuller? I would not include a Khalil Mack in this, even though maybe Seattle would ask for it. I'm trying to keep Khalil Mack. That defense is that good enough that they made it to the playoffs with a terrible Nick Foles and an average at best throughout this season, Mitchell Trubisky. And can you imagine having a guy like Russell Wilson, a quarterback that they've never had? They haven't had this great of a quarterback forever. The Chicago Bears are known as just the monsters of the Midway. That's what they're called. They don't talk about quarterbacks. When we think of quarterbacks, we think of Green Bay, we think of Dallas, we think of the Patriots, San Francisco, Pittsburgh. We think of great quarterbacks like that. Hell, if you want to put the Giants in there, that's fine. But we don't think of Chicago. Yeah, that's still TBD. But we never talk about the quarterback situation in the Bears because they never had any great quarterbacks. If they ever got a Russell Wilson, I don't care what you have to give up. It's kind of like with Deshaun Watson. When you know you're getting an elite player and one of the best in the game, and you're a team on the cusp of just making the playoffs last year, you get a Russell Wilson. I don't care what you got to trade. You take yourself from playoff contender to championship level contender in a heartbeat. And when you got it, and Colin Cowherd said it best, when you're in a division where you have to play Aaron Rodgers twice a year, you're not winning with Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky guys. It's just not happening. I don't care how great
Trubisky's not on the roster.
Okay, what I'm saying, a quarterback like him.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Or Alex Smith.
Are you going to have to give up more for Russell Wilson than Deshaun Watson? Listen, we don't have the answer to that. We don't have the answer. Here's the other thing. Hold on 1 second. The only thing I will say to both of that question, and they both have the similar answer for myself, is the Bears don't have a top 10 pick. So either one of those teams, who, if they do trade Russell Wilson to those teams, who's your quarterback next year, Seattle? That means you're kicking the can down the road for next season. That's what you're telling me, because you don't have a quarterback and there's not a free agent quarterback, and you're not going to be able to draft one because you don't have a top 10 pick.
You got to think about it. Last point about this before we get on to our next. If they did make a whole trade, say the Bears give up their whole draft and they have all those draft picks, Seattle. Now maybe you package it with somebody up at the top 8, a team that doesn't need a quarterback, maybe. Like I'm saying, like a Miami. Say a Miami.
Why don't they call the Jets? Why don't they call the Jets for Sam Darnold? Call the Jets for Sam Darnold.
You can do that, but you're not viable. You might have to give up all those picks to get up to that spot if you wanted to. Or you could trade Sam Darnold. It all depends. All I'm trying to say is that even with Seattle, if they did trade Russell Wilson, I know they should. They probably in a million years you would have never thought it would happen. But if they did, you still have plenty of options this offseason of quarterbacks. Now, they might not be great, but you still have plenty of options. And Sam Darnold is probably the best name that comes to mind because Pete Carroll's a USC guy and Sam Darnold is from USC. So should the Bears go all in? I say yes, because you're on the cusp of making it to that Super Bowl tier. You get Russell Wilson, bam, you're in the conversation right off the bat.
It just depends what you're giving up.
League. And you need great quarterbacks.
Here's the thing. They got Allen Robinson. They franchise tagged him. You got a solid defense. They do have a nice tight end, Cole Kmet from Notre Dame. Their running back situation should be better. Tariq Cohen should be coming back this year. And they also have David Montgomery. Kyle Long, I don't know if he's going to be a free agent or if he's automatically he won't be back at the Bears. Now their offensive line is shaky, but we've seen Seattle with a shakier line too in past years. That was one of our questions a couple of years ago. Who had the worst offensive line? Giants in Seattle. So he's able to scramble. Matt Nagy's got an extensive playbook, very intuitive, maybe more offensive friendly for Russell Wilson. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. To think before January, Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson would not even you would even think about trading. Might as well. Them asking for trades is pretty remarkable when we're talking on March 12th right now. But here's the other thing. Found out another situation. I don't know if you saw this morning. If they wait till the draft night, either team, Houston or Seattle, you can go farther down the road with draft picks. Meaning, if you trade now, I believe you can only trade up to a 2023 or 2024, one of those years. If you go, if you wait to the draft, starting when the draft kicks off, once he says the Jaguars are on the clock, they're allowed to trade up to 2025. So you could give first round picks. You give for the next 5 years of first round picks. And I think that's why that question was brought up today: is how much and how far and how much would you be willing to give up for Russell Wilson?
Okay, well, as a great movie, I like to say a quote: "The Bears, they better give him an offer you can't refuse." We'll have to see, because plain and simple, this offseason has been madness, and it's continuing to go in that trend. Let's get over. We talked about it last week with the Big Blue New York Football Giants. We talked about the draft, and Ted went with the pass rusher Michigan, Kit from Michigan. Kind of was a shocker, a surprising pick. Now I want to talk about quickly in free agency. Because, now it's officially free agent. The next 10 days, less than 10 days, are going to be pandemonium in the NFL with tampering, with signings, with the new official league season starting, league year, I should say, starting. There's a lot happening. And the two biggest things going into this offseason for the New York Giants, plain and simple, is a number one. Yes, it is. Golloday. Oh, okay. I got you. I didn't know. I see. It's good to have somebody helping me out.
Why are you looking up, bro? You're lazy. You didn't even look up Kenny Galladay's real name.
Teammate. That's a good teammate. I'm disappointed in myself. But anyway, the big question is plain and simple. Do the Giants, we went defense, or Ted, I should say, if I would have been a little different. But
here's the thing. I had the receivers off the board at the present time. If I told you, if one of those three receivers, or if Kyle Pitts, which I don't think Kyle Pitts will even be close to being 11, but if one of those 3 or 4 guys are there at 11, I think the Giants have an easy decision for themselves. I don't care who it is. If it's Devontae Smith, I think Jamar Chase will probably be the first receiver off of the board. The Waddle, Devontae Smith could be interesting, and the reason why I say that is because you thought Jared Jeudy would have been the first pick, and it was Henry Ruggs. So does someone go Waddle because of his explosive and deep play threat over Devontae Smith, who's also a smaller frame guy compared to, Jalen Waddle? So, and then listen, either way, I think all 3 guys can be successful in the NFL. I believe Devontae Smith can be successful. The only thing with him that I see compared from college to the NFL is because the game is much more physical and the hash marks are closer in, so they're not or wider out, so they're not as you don't get the width like you do in college. And what I mean is the hash marks that go up the middle of the field in the NFL game, they're wider, so that your sideline maneuver, you don't have as much space. Where in the college, it's not as far over, so that's why you see a lot of like bubble screens and openness in the college game compared to the NFL. So is Devontae Smith big enough, good enough to get off press coverage? Is he good enough to beat Jalen Ramsey? Is he good enough to beat Patrick Peterson? Is he good enough to beat Darius Slay or one of the top cornerbacks in the league? Because that's what a number one receiver has to do. That's what you expect. Can he beat Bradbury? Because I think when you talk about Kenny Golladay, I think a guy can do that. I don't think he's a legit number one. He is because of the market that is.
Well, coming into the season, you would have thought, Chris Godwin. I think we all could have assumed that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to do everything they could to get Godwin back. The other name that we heard was Allen Robinson. The Bears ended up franchise tagging him. That who knows if they're going to try to reach a long-term deal, or maybe he just doesn't still want to be there.
Odell Beckham.
The Bears end up trying to go for Russell Wilson. So the big name in this free agency class is a true number one to some is Kenny Golladay. He's young. I know he has an injury issue. That's the big issue. And the teams that we've heard associated with Golloday, the New York Giants are one of them, the Miami Dolphins, the New England Patriots, teams that need weapons.
Jets.
And Golloday, Jets always can use weapons. They definitely want to. It all depends. So, and then you also got the pass rushing ability in this draft, not even this draft. This is why I think the Giants should really prioritize going pass rusher in free agency because of the lack of talent, I would say, in this upcoming draft.
You can get depth later in this round.
Ray and Rosas from Miami look like they could be really talented players, but there's a huge but in there in the sense of raw potential. And raw, as I've always been saying, can either get you fired or it can make you look like a genius. But you don't want to take that chance. In this free agency class, Shaq Barrett looks like he could be going back to Tampa. You get Bud Dupree, who's been a name associated with the Giants, and I've heard what I was just listening to Jordan Renan's podcast recently. The Giants, there's some people in the building that are interested in Bud Dupree. Maybe they try to get him to a one-year prove-it deal and see coming off of the ACL, but he's young, he's athletic, and he kicked the crap out of the Giants on Monday night in Week 1. So there is Yannick Ngakoue. There's plenty. Hendrickson from the Lions. There's a lot of great.
Hendrickson was on the Saints. Hendrickson was on the Saints.
Oh, number 91. So there's a lot of good, and I would even say great talent in this free agents class.
Well, here's the thing, people that you know what you're going to get out of them. You know what I mean? You don't know what you're going to get out of this rookie class. That's why you're going to find a lot of defensive players coming off in the second and third and fourth rounds because that's where your depth is in this class. The big talent is your quarterbacks, your receivers. You're going to see a lot of offensive players taken in that first round, but second, third rounds is where you're going to get your depth. That's where majority of your team anyways. Listen, the Giants got to go all in for a number one receiver at 11. They got to hope he's there. You got to hope and pray. If not, I would trade back and get value and get assets because that at this point in time, if you can't get a legit number receiver, you can get one of those kids Pay or one of the two kids from Miami, Phillips or Rousseau, because those kids are not top 10 picks. They're closer to 20 to 30 picks. So if you can drop back in the draft class, get more value picks, you can move up in the second, third. Listen, we need players. We're not good yet. We're close to being good, but we need talent. That's why I think you go after a guy like Bud Dupree or whoever else is on the market because you know what you're going to get. You know what I mean? You've seen this guy in the NFL game. You don't know how a rookie's going to play. That's the problem. You don't know how a rookie is going to play. But I can look at Bud Dupree over the last 4 seasons and go, that guy can play. He's physical. He's athletic. He's strong. He plays the run, plays the pass very well. It's a similar system to a 3-4.
He did start off a little slow, but we could also put it to you got to point to the finger of saying, hey, well, that's what happens when you have an all-pro on the other side of TJ Watt, which does help. But I do like Bud Dupree. My thing is, I know everybody's like, oh, we got to go after Kenny Golloday. Look, I know that the Giants have, and the Giants were in talks last season throughout the almost the trade deadline of going to Detroit and talking about trying to get Kenny Golloday. So there is interest with both sides.
Odell Beckham.
What is his hold on? What my thing is what is the asking price going to be for Golloday for a guy that's coming off injury, coming off another injury, and hasn't really has only played one full season in his 4 seasons so far in the NFL. So if you're willing to pay a guy $16 to $18 million for a receiver that is, well, very talented, young, explosive, make plays when on the field. But that's the key, when he's on the field. Are you willing to give up that much for a team that doesn't have a lot of salary cap, knowing that you also got to try to figure out your defensive line situation with Leonard Williams and Dalvin Tomlinson? And can you add to that defense? That defense is very improved last year, very young, very athletic. You could add another pass rusher. I know that the main thing is to surround Daniel Jones, and we've been predicating it so much the past couple weeks. The Giants need to get weapons to surround Daniel Jones to know if Daniel Jones is actually going to be the answer long-term for the New York Football Giants. And I know that Kenny Golloday, he might be too steep for a price for the Giants to go after. So maybe you try to go after a Curtis Samuel, someone. I know it's another slot receiver that we don't need. We already have 1 million of them. We've already tried that.
My thing is, playmakers.
I know you need playmakers. Golloday could be the number one for the Giants, but the asking price.
Why can't we call OBJ back?
Oh,
let's call OBJ. Bring him back to New York.
OBJ, they're not bringing him back.
No, he loves New York.
All the people on Twitter, stop it. Stop it.
He wants to go.
Oh, stop it.
Bring him back.
Coming back. He's going to
Listen,
Tampa. He's going to Tampa Bay.
Bring him to New York. Bring him back, bro. That's our number one receiver. Bring back what we started. He's ready to go. He wants to be back. Him and Saquon. We got Daniel Jones, Sterling Shepard, his boy.
2 years ago was the day Odell Beckham Jr. got traded from the New York Football Giants.
I know that. Let's bring him back.
All I'm trying to say is the Giants should prioritize either one of these.
Second-round pick for. We'll bring him back. Yes.
No.
Why?
You go pass rusher in this free agency. Try to go receiver heavy, offensive weapon heavy in the draft, and try to go with that.
BJ, bro, he's a number one receiver. Bring him back to town. Let him flourish.
People that are watching, do you think the New York Giants? We're gonna post a poll later on in the show. Later on after this,
they're gonna say no because they just say no.
Should the New York Giants trade back OBJ, trade and go get OBJ?
Well, listen, would you rather pay Kenny Golloday $16 to $18 million a year for a guy that's only played one season? Now, I know you're going to say Odell Beckham is injured every year, but guess what? The potential is so great. The potential is dazzling. It's remarkable.
All players are very potential-wise are great.
Listen, I could say the same thing about Saquon Barkley. Talented as hell. But 2 years running, he hasn't played a full season. Now, first year was great. Second year, missed some games. Still finished over 1,000 yards, 432 yards receiving. Third season, got hurt in week 2 against the Bears ACL. We still need hey, let's make some moves.
See, I'm getting credit now. See, Stevie Riss always more right about OBJ than Trev. Thank you, Stevie. Appreciate it.
Oh, Steve, I think Gowdy gets 18 to 20. Then that's an overpay job. What's someone else? Let the Jets pay for that.
I would love for the Giants to go after. Here's the thing that I'm glad you said that. I love that the Giants. I would love for the Giants to go get Golloday, but 18 to 20 million for a receiver that is very talented, but yet has the injury-prone history. I just can't see it. I can't see them going that much when they are in a tight squeeze for salary cap, and they already got to figure out their issues moving forward in the defense line.
That's why you draft the receiver and hit the defensive free agency.
Yeah. So that's all. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. It's Friday, Ted. It's Friday. No,
if you were here, I'd smack you.
Why would you want to do that to me? That's not nice. They're not nice. I don't like that. I don't know what I got to do. It's Friday. Well, the Giants, they got a lot of things to figure out. They got a lot of issues to figure out. Dave Gettleman still wants to live in sometimes the 19.
Hey, should we pick one of those Chiefs tackles that just got released?
Oh yeah, I saw that too. I mean, that's probably one of the most surprising moves that I saw in a couple weeks, just because of the fact that
tackle. That's what's surprising. Both tackles, not just one, but both.
Well, this is a team that just got their asses kicked on Super Bowl Sunday, and it was one of the main reasons was because their offensive line was the worst performance I've ever seen from an offensive line in any football game. So, I mean, I don't know what the Chiefs are going to do. Patrick Mahomes just came out and just restructured his contract, so they just freed up $17 million. Maybe they're trying to bring back Eric Fisher on a cheaper deal. Time will tell. But the champs, there's a reason why we don't see. Oh, Ted, you're very blurry. Hold on, I think he's frozen. Hold on, I'm gonna bring him back. But there's a reason why dynasties just don't work in the NFL. Yeah, and more Tom Brady and the New England Patriots because of what they've done. Because you see all this every time. Seattle was one of them. We thought, now we're thinking the Chiefs. Let's slow our roll right now. But like I said, it is Friday, and this means also it is March. And if we do remember, this is supposed to be the craziest time of the year. It's college basketball. I know we haven't talked about this all year, which has been a bit of a surprise because, well, college basketball, they've managed to make it here. But now we're starting to see the issues. You remember a year ago this time, you had the breaking news, you had the New York Post, the day the sports world stood still, and you had an empty arena. I'll never forget it, Ted. We watched the first half of the St. John's, I think it was St. John's and Xavier, or quarterfinal game. We watched the first half, and they decided to postpone the rest of the Big East tournament. And that was it. There was no March Madness last year. This year, there seems like there's going to be a March Madness. But if you've seen the past recent couple of days, the Duke Blue Devils season has come to an end. The Virginia Cavaliers ACC tournament done. The Kansas Jayhawks today, done. North Carolina A&T, MEHAC, done. Because of COVID-related issues.
They were the number 1 seed.
Georgia Tech is playing the winner of the North Carolina Florida State semifinal in the ACC title game, and Texas will be playing the winner of the Oklahoma State Baylor semifinal game in the Big 12. My question is, March Madness couldn't survive last year. March Madness has made it all the way to this point, but we're starting to see some issues going on with COVID. Can they make it, or could they possibly get? They might get the Selection Sunday, but can they finish all the way to Final Four weekend?
Well, and here's the thing. See, you get through it. Excuse me, let me slow down for a second. You can get through it during the regular season. You can postpone a game. You can move a game. You could skip a game. We've seen that throughout the season. Can't do that in the tournament, folks. Now, here's the problem and thought process that I was saying. I was having a conversation with Pate. I said, first round of the playoffs. It's 2:30. 16 seed plays the number 1 seed. Michigan. Kid on Michigan gets COVID. What? Their season's over and the 16 seed automatically moves on to the second round? Final Four. Somebody gets COVID. What? The team automatically goes to the national championship? Is that what we're looking at right now? Because right now in the conference tournaments, we've seen that already. Virginia moved on in the first round. Florida State moved on in this round. Who's moving on? I mean, Georgia Tech is going to be in the ACC championship, and they've only played 1 game. So what are we going to see when the NCAA tournament comes to Indianapolis?
You got to remember, all 68 teams are going to be in that bubble, supposed bubble.
So what happens there? That's the biggest thing. So, one of the comments was, NCAA will have nobody to blame but themselves. Money talk first. Vaccinations. Somebody said vaccinations should have been given out ahead of time. NCAA should have figured out a way to get enough vaccinations for Division I athletes. But I commented back with, should the D1 athletes, which was brought up about professional athletes, should the college kids, because of maybe not because they don't get paid, maybe they should have gotten a chance to get vaccinated before the public? Or is that not right? Is that not ethical? Are we looking at sports still over the power of the regular person? Listen, the March Madness will go on one way or another unless there's a major outbreak. And I haven't seen a major outbreak in any of the professional sports since we've gone back. Baseball, football, basketball, tennis, hockey. We've had teams, we've had, certain players, but we haven't had a major outbreak. My thing is this, can March Madness be ruined by 1 or 2 teams getting COVID? And I say yes, especially if it's a big – listen, like I said, first round of the playoffs, 2:30 afternoon, you're on your 3rd game of the bracket. 16th team versus 1 seed. St. Mary's in the Vine versus Michigan. Michigan's out. What? Do they have a backup plan? Is someone else fill the slot? Do they move the game? Because you can't have an oops. Not in a tournament where you can postpone a game because everything is thrown off.
Look at my team. I'm a Duke fan. Duke's not going to the NCAA tournament now.
They're not going anywhere, bro. They're going back to round.
Yeah, they got to go. They got to go back home. They got to go back home and watch the tournament. But my thing is you just said it. Duke was a team that had to fight for their life just to get a chance to be. They were on the bubble all year. Now, they didn't help their case because they struggled throughout the year. But they had to fight. They had to play their way in pretty much to get into the NCAA tournament. They had to win the ACC title. And now that the season is over, the AD has come out and said the season's totally over. So Duke is not going to the postseason. Neither is Kentucky, the first time since 1976, by the way, both blue bloods. And maybe Michigan State is another team that might not be making the tournament after their early exit in the Big Ten.
No, I think they'll still make the tournament because they beat Ohio State, Illinois, and Michigan. I think Michigan State.
Like you just said, Ted, what happens if Gonzaga, one of their best players, comes out and says, COVID. Mark Few says, one of our guys get COVID. Bam. What happens? The team's done? Is the season over?
Here's my thing. If it's one player, and I know this is going to sound ignorant, I don't give a crap. If one player gets COVID and the other 11 players don't, then play the game. Put the other kid in isolation.
One player was close contact, but if that one
contract tracing. But if the other guys are negative, move on. We've been in the same room with people, us, the two people that are on this show, been in the same room with someone who had COVID, and guess what? The other people in the room didn't have COVID, and we all went tested. Only one person got it. Guess what? We got tested again, and we still didn't get it. Move on.
Those are just rare.
Listen, just because one person doesn't mean the whole party's got to end. Just because one person's a bad word and everyone else, it doesn't mean the party's over. You just keep moving on. You throw them out the back door in the trash. See you later. Move on. The game must be played because guess what? March Madness only cares about the multi-million dollars that they lost last year that they are hoping to get this year. And it's going to be even bigger this year because everyone's going to be watching on television because I don't think there's that many fans allowed.
I'm just frustrated that the NCAA, as always, knows that this situation has been going on. You can't stop this virus. It's the inevitable, and yet they still, we've been testing them and all that. Well, you obviously haven't done that well of a job.
You should be testing kids
now on conference tournament. And if it's happening in conference tournament week, what do you think it's going to be like when a week from today, you're in Indianapolis and you have all 64 teams playing?
Well, the bubble, we'll see. Listen, I don't know how the bubble works. I have no idea. I know how the NBA bubble worked, and the bubble in the NBA worked. It worked, and so did baseball. Both bubbles worked for those professional teams. If the NCAA learned anything, they should have asked both professional sports how they did it. Now, the difference is I don't know how Indianapolis is being set up. I don't know if there's private hotels. I don't know what the regulations are. But the NCAA should do everything in their power to make everything as clean and beautiful and with no issues, because if at the end of the day, this doesn't fall on the kids. This falls on the NCAA people and the people in charge.
It will only fall on the kids if the kids act like idiots and go out and
they're not going nowhere. They're probably going to be on lockdown.
You know how this younger generation is. They think they're invisible. They think that nothing could ever happen to them.
Virginia's stuck in the hotel for another 10 days. They have to have
even more fascinating that guess what? They had a player that contracted the virus, and now their ACC dreams of winning an ACC title are over with because of some issue like this. All I'm trying to say is that in a week from today, you're going to have 64 teams, maybe less, depending on Thursday's games. You will have over 64 teams playing for a right to win a national championship. So March Madness, we can only hope that it can continue because last year it was a true dark cloud for March Madness. It was doomed. I don't know if this is going to happen again, but right now it's not a good start going in to Selection Sunday with some of the bigger programs getting eliminated based off of.
And we still have 2 days left. Tonight and Saturday and I think there is a game Sunday, SEC.
Because this is the past couple days.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. And listen, at the end of the day, we know what we want. We want the games. We want these kids to play. We miss this so much. This is what listen, this is bigger than just us. This is a world where I think this, people, fans, kids have been waiting their whole life. Think about some of the teams. That NC North Carolina A&T team, they're a number one seed. They're going to be able to make the tournament for probably the first time maybe ever, or the first time in 10 years or whatever. It doesn't matter. Have an opportunity to fight for your school and to be able to put yourself on national television and have the opportunity to win a championship is remarkable, and you hope it just doesn't get ruined because of something stupid, and you hope it doesn't get ruined because protocols were not taken seriously enough, both as student athletes, coaches, and the NCAA, because I believe we will have a champion one way or another because money talks. We saw it in the NCAA, we saw it in baseball, we saw it in basketball. One way or another, we'll have a championship team rise up at the beginning of April. I just don't know how we're going to get there, bud. We might hit a couple speed bumps.
It's already happening. That's what I'm saying. We'll see what happens. Time will tell only. We can only hope that this doesn't affect a major team. And we like we said, the NBA survived with the bubble. The MLB did their part. The NFL miraculously got to the Super Bowl and finished their season. Now we'll see if NCAA March Madness can complete their season. So we can only hope. But like I said, we are streaming on all social media platforms. You can check us out on YouTube as well, Keys to the City. So subscribe, comment, share. Ted, do you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say if anyone missed the show, we'll post it afterwards. They can check it out on Spotify. But what I mean, listen, no big thing. Just go enjoy yourself and let's have some fun. And we should be some great games. Go UConn.
Oh yeah, the UConn Huskies. Should I root for them?
You got nothing else to root for?
I'm in Florida, but Florida lost. So
they lost. Duke's out. You're done.
Go Huskies, right?
Go Huskies.
We will see. Ladies and gentlemen, Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are out.
Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.
Everything and making all of those.